Welcome to my channel, where your adventure into the future starts right now. Step into a vibrant universe filled with groundbreaking technology, breathtaking alien landscapes, and exhilarating sci-fi narratives that challenge your imagination. From daring explorations of distant galaxies to haunting journeys through dystopian societies, we uncover the most captivating stories and innovative ideas that will shape the world of tomorrow. Subscribe today and join us on an incredible intergalactic voyage that promises to inspire and thrill. When contemplating the idea of war, humans, much like any species, often focus on their own power, military might, and strategic advantages. The thought of conquering other worlds or civilizations might seem thrilling or even feasible to some, especially if one has technology, resources, or sheer willpower at their disposal. However, there is an entire class of life forms that should give pause to anyone who might be contemplating such aggressive actions: the Deathworlders. These beings are not simply strong or resilient, they have evolved on planets where survival itself is a battle against overwhelming forces of nature. They have adapted to environments that would annihilate ordinary life forms in a matter of seconds. A single misstep in confronting a Deathworlder could lead to disastrous consequences. But the true lesson in why declaring war on these formidable beings is a terrible idea lies deeper than mere physical confrontation. It is rooted in the vast, incomprehensible gulf between humanity's perception of strength and the brutal reality of survival that Deathworlders face every day. To truly understand why one should never declare war on a Deathworlder, one must first comprehend the nature of the Deathworlds themselves. A Deathworld is a planet where survival is not merely a struggle, it is an ever-present, unrelenting battle against the environment, predators, and even the very laws of nature. Life on such worlds is shaped by extreme conditions, be it gravity, weather, radiation, predatory species, or an ecosystem constantly in flux. The creatures that evolve on these planets are not designed to thrive in peace, but to endure through conflict, resilience, and ruthless adaptability. For a species that has learned to survive in a Deathworld environment, everything is a fight, whether it's for food, territory, or life itself. Take, for example, the predatory animals that dominate Deathworld ecosystems. On Earth, humans have learned to tame their environment, sometimes to their detriment, but on Deathworlds, creatures are honed by their surroundings into apex predators, often without the moral constraints or ethical considerations that govern human behavior. These creatures are not simply physical powerhouses, they are often highly intelligent, cunning, and capable of exploiting their environments in ways that would leave human forces in disarray. Such predators are not merely designed to hunt, they are shaped by a constant feedback loop of evolutionary pressure, learning not just to defend their territories, but to completely decimate anything that threatens their survival. This gives them a kind of ruthless efficiency that many species, including humanity, struggle to understand. However, to declare war on these beings, let alone wage war on them, would be to misunderstand the very nature of what it takes to survive on a Deathworld. War is a conflict of resources, of tactics, and of willpower. But for Deathworlders, survival itself is a daily war. They are not limited by any conventional form of combat, but have honed instincts and adaptability that allow them to respond to threats in an almost incomprehensible way. While humans might engage in warfare with strategies, planning, and rules of engagement, Deathworlders face every day as a struggle against forces far greater than their individual will. Whether it's surviving violent storms, navigating hostile ecosystems, or facing predators far more powerful than themselves, they are constantly in a state of combat, not just with each other, but with the world itself. To declare war on such a species is to not only fail to grasp the magnitude of their resilience, but to miscalculate the resources and resolve needed to win a war on such an adversary. This is where the danger of underestimating Deathworlders becomes even clearer. While humans are accustomed to waging wars where at least some rules apply, such as boundaries between combatants, weapons restrictions, or some level of honor, Deathworlders have no such notions. They fight to survive, and their concept of war is not governed by the traditional laws of engagement. They are creatures who have had to learn the most brutal, unforgiving tactics simply to live, and these tactics are often not something humans are prepared to face. These are beings that fight not out of a desire for conquest or revenge, but out of necessity. They do not understand the kind of restraint that humans might consider in warfare, where there are limits to how far one will go. Deathworlders, on the other hand, will use whatever is at their disposal, whether it's environment, stealth, overwhelming force, or even psychological warfare to guarantee their survival. They fight not to defeat an enemy, but to ensure that they continue to exist. Moreover, it's important to note that a war with Deathworlders would not be a conventional conflict. In many wars, superior technology or advanced weaponry can tilt the balance in favor of one side. However, on a Deathworld, technology might not offer the advantage one would expect. Deathworlders are not bound by conventional technology. Instead, they often possess biological adaptations, physical capabilities, and instinctive knowledge of their environment that far surpasses what any human-made weaponry can provide. It is common for such beings to have evolved extraordinary resilience, immunity to environmental hazards, enhanced strength, or near supernatural senses that enable them to outmaneuver even the most technologically advanced opponents. The battlefield on a Deathworld may not only involve traditional weapons, but also tactics based on the unique attributes of the environment and the Deathworlders' inherent adaptability. Additionally, Deathworlders are not merely the creatures native to such planets. Their entire civilizations have grown out of the harsh environments they inhabit. Many species living on Deathworlds have developed technologies or societies that work in harmony with their brutal surroundings. For example, the architecture might be designed to withstand extreme environmental pressures, transportation methods adapted to extreme terrain, and communication technologies that rely on methods beyond human comprehension. Furthermore, Deathworlder societies may have evolved complex systems of survival that ensure that every member of their species contributes to the collective resilience. The very nature of their civilizations is built upon survival against the most extreme odds, and they have no concept of quit. They simply cannot afford to lose, and this unyielding drive makes them incredibly difficult to defeat in a prolonged conflict. A species willing to declare war on such beings has to be prepared not only for the combat itself, but for the cost in resources, time, and willpower that such a war would inevitably demand. It's also critical to understand that Deathworlders are incredibly protective of their own kind. Having evolved in environments where the very survival of the species depends on solidarity and resource sharing, any threat to their survival, especially one coming from another species, will be met with an overwhelming and coordinated response. In such societies, individual lives are valuable, but the life of the species is paramount. A Deathworlder will not hesitate to defend their home planet, their environment, or their fellow species with an intensity that is difficult for most species to comprehend. In some cases, their response to an invasion may be so brutal and efficient that they will eradicate the invading forces before the aggressors even understand the scale of the threat they've unleashed. The lesson is clear: Deathworlders are not simply surviving, they are built for survival, and their societies are as ruthless in preserving their existence as any predator hunting for food. From a strategic perspective, even if a species manages to get the upper hand for a short time, the sheer resilience and adaptability of Deathworlders make it highly unlikely they will stay defeated for long. Their survival instinct is beyond anything that conventional military forces can account for. Deathworlders are quick to adapt, to learn, and to improvise in ways that other species find unfathomable. A prolonged war with them could result in a slow and painful loss for any species foolish enough to engage. It's a war that, over time, wears down even the most powerful forces, a test of endurance that forces one to question the very nature of what it means to win. In the end, the question remains, why would anyone, let alone a species like humanity, decide to declare war on such a being? The answer is simple, but it requires introspection. Often, the impulse to declare war comes from misunderstanding or hubris, the belief that technology, strength, or numbers alone can guarantee victory. But in the case of Deathworlders, this is a mistake that could prove fatal. It is a mistake to assume that strength is only measured in numbers or firepower. Strength, when it comes to Deathworlders, is measured in survival. And survival is something they have mastered, evolved for, and devoted themselves to with a singular focus. Underestimating such beings is not just a miscalculation, it is a death sentence. Declaring war on Deathworlders is not just a fool's errand, it is a guarantee of failure. It is a misstep that fails to acknowledge the magnitude of what it takes to survive on a planet where every day is a fight for survival. Deathworlders do not know defeat, they know survival, and that makes them the ultimate adversaries. They are reminders that strength is not simply about power, but about the will to exist against all odds. And any species that underestimates that will come to regret it.